It's time to sew, everybody. We need one rectangle, 4.5 by 6.5 inches, and I've ironed a lightweight interfacing onto the back of that. A medium interfacing would also be good because we are going to stitch raw edge applique onto it. So here I am just cutting out some blue petals, I suppose. I'm going to make a very simple daisy today. So I've got this lovely fabric with tiny little blue flowers on it, which I thought would be very cute. And with these petals, I'm just going to glue them in place with a glue stick. The very, very bare minimum of glue because we don't want any glugginess. I just basically want to hold these petals down while I sew them in place. So they don't move around like they did in my last video. If you saw that, I couldn't find a glue stick last time, so I went off and bought one. So I'm using my free motion quilting foot, and that's so I can sew in all directions. So you have to make sure that your feed dogs are down, in the down position for this, and that way you can move the piece of fabric in any direction rather than just from front to back. I'm making this quilt as a memory of my grandmother. So the embellishments that I use are my grandmother's and were my grandmother's, and I'm going to be just doing flowers for every block. So it's going to be called Grandma's Garden. Here I am free motion stitching some leaves and the stem of my flower. So I end up just going, doing the stitch one time to get the pattern that I want, and then I go over it a second time just to make it a little darker so that it can stand out a little more. And this is when the interfacing on the back of the fabric is vital. I've decided that my lightweight is probably too lightweight because it still buckles a little bit. I would go a medium to heavyweight interfacing if you can, but I had already pre-prepared all my rectangles, which was a shame. So there is my flower. I am using this doily. This was my grandmother's, so I used this in the last block, and I'm just decided to use it for every block as the ground, just to use up the one doily and not cut up multiple doilies. So I'm going to just stitch this in place here. Now, I have been feeling really busy and overwhelmed in my life at the moment. So that is why I've slowed down a little bit with my YouTubing. But I really want to keep it going, and I want to make this quilt and show you this quilt. I have lots of other quilt ideas as well, but it's just a matter of not having enough time. So I'm in a very busy life stage. I have a family, 2 teenage kids, and they've been very busy lately with sports and work and school. I also am started a new position at my work, so I'm learning a lot more responsibilities, and there's a lot more sort of in my mind. So it's really great to be able to sew and slow down, get into your hands and get out of your head. So even though I don't have a whole lot of time to sew, I do make time to sew. And the great thing about quilting, well, I'll get back to what the great thing about quilting is. Look at this gorgeous hand-dyed fabric. This was ice-dyed. And look at those colors of pink. So glorious. Just love this fabric so much. So this is for your diamond pieces, but you don't need to cut triangles for this pattern. What you do is you cut one big rectangle first. Whoops, hold that ruler steady. Okay, there we go. So the rectangle that you need is 5.5 by 7.5 inches. So just measure that carefully, measure twice, cut once. And then we cut that rectangle into triangles. So from corner to corner, line that up corner to corner. And without moving the fabric, go and cut the other diagonal as well. So as I was saying, the best thing about quilting is that you can break it up into small chunks and fit it in around your busy life. So this weekend that I'm filming this, I had 2 basketball games and a football game on the Saturday and the Sunday. I had to drive far away for the football game that my son was in, and plus do the groceries. My husband is away at the moment, prepare meals, and he's usually the one cooking. So the fact that I can just fit in one block is fabulous. So you saw how I arranged those triangles then around the center rectangle. Now I'm just finding the center of both those triangles and the rectangle block itself. And that way I can line up the centers and know that my triangles are going to be sewn in the correct place. So I did that on all 4 sides, you just didn't see, and I line up those little notches that I made and pop a pin in. So I'm not sure if anyone else feels like me and just a little bit overwhelmed with the amount of things that we have to do in our life. You might be caring for children, or you might be caring for your parents. I'm using a 1/4 inch foot to get a lovely 1/4 inch seam down that edge, just making sure that they're lined up. I use my nails, did you see them, to scrape the fabric, the top fabric along to make sure that it's lined up. Do that on both sides and iron. So in this video, you never see me ironing, but I iron at every stage because I like my projects to be nice and flat. Notch that top triangle against the center of the rectangle and sew the top and bottom just as you did the sides. Yeah, so you might be in a busy stage of life as well, or you might be have lots of time to sew. I'd love to know what stage of life you're in down in the comments. Are you busy like me, or do you have freedom to create as much as you want? Wherever you are in life is fine. There are different stages of life, and for me, it's about accepting that this is busy at the moment. It's not always going to be busy. Now I'm trimming this block. What I need to do is make sure that there is a 1/4 inch between the corner of my rectangle and the edge of my pink, but I lined up the diagonal of my rectangle. So you see where I'm pointing there? So the line from diagonal to diagonal, corner to corner lines up, but I also have a 1/4 inch from the edge of the square rectangle into the diamond. All right, then we need 2 rectangles cut. This is a 10-inch block, and I need to cut that in half because one side of this rectangle is going to be 5 inches. This has a zigzag, and when I measure the zigzag, the 10 inches goes from the edge of the zigzag to the edge. And then 5 by 7, so lining up 7 inches to cut the other side of this rectangle. So we need 2 of these, and once you have 2 of these, you're going to be cutting them into triangles. So lining up, counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 inches to get that length. And these we're going to be slicing only once. So one is sliced one way and the other is sliced the other way. That's very important, okay? Don't make your diagonals going the same way. They need to be alternated. Because as you can see, when I bring in my little diamond, they will then fit on either side to create another rectangle. So now we have our rectangle block. So we just need to stitch these in place. And this one is a little bit trickier to find your centers because you're not dealing with, I guess, the evenness. One, it will poke over. So you need to overhang it so that there is a 1/4 inch. If you measure a 1/4 inch in, then that's where your fabric lines up. And you'll have a little notch. It's very close to where the fold is. And for the larger triangles, again, a 1/4 inch from the straight edge in. And I can measure that against a ruler. And it's kind of hard to explain, but I just have a go and you'll sort of work it out. I'm sure you're very smart. And make your little notch there. And so then you've got right sides together. I have a right side of this white fabric with the little dots, right sides together, notches together, and pin that in place. And again, sew with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So how great is sewing and quilting? I'm recording this voiceover after making this, of course, and I'm just relaxed by watching it. I hope you are as well. So it's definitely a great hobby to have if you are busy because, as I said before, you can definitely break it down into achievable chunks and just set yourself something that you're going to achieve either that day or that week. For me, it might be like, yeah, I'm going to make a block this weekend and fit that around. I have set up a sewing space down in my garage. If you have been watching my videos for a while, you know that I set up on the dining room table to film most videos. But today I'm down in the garage, and which is why I'm kind of making this a faceless video, just to experiment and to see how this style suits and whether it suits my busy lifestyle, because I'm already set up in the garage. I don't need to go and set up and spend time doing that. And also, you know, with family around, it's hard to film when family are around. So as you are seeing, I'm just 1/4 inch seam those sides. I do 2 sides first, I iron them, and then I come in with the 3rd and the 4th triangle. So let me know as well in the comments if you're okay with this style of video, or do you prefer to see me in the flesh? I just think that for some videos when I am super busy, this might be an achievable way for me to keep YouTube in, because I don't want to stop, even though I am far too busy and I probably am a little bit insane. Now, another thing that we have, let me talk you through this. Again, we are going to be trimming our block, and we need to line up one line of our ruler to be parallel to our rectangle block, and you leave a 1/4 inch past the diamond fabric so that you have a seam allowance and you're not going to be sewing off the tips of your diamonds. So you then should end up with a perfect rectangle at the end. As I was saying, I have a private sort of online school community where you have to apply to get in. It is free, but you apply, and so therefore when everybody that's in the group are quilters and we share projects with each other, you're welcome to come and visit us over there and join our group. I'm sewing on a little pink button in the center of my flower to finish this off. Isn't that cute? And that's the 2nd block of this quilt complete. If you missed the first one, I'll link that below so that you can see the first quilt block that I've done, although I'll put it at the end of this video as well so you can see. And here is the finished block. I just love the bright hand-dyed fabrics with the white. I haven't made a white and bright quilt for a while now, so it's nice to sort of make that style very cute and striking. And the first block I did is here it is. I had purple one, so there is a video there if you want to watch that one. I hope you all have a lovely week, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.